Long before Pawn Stars became one of the world's most recognizable reality television shows, the Gold-Silver Pawn Shop of Las Vegas was just another gritty establishment wedged between casinos, liquor stores, and the tourists wandering the Strip. It wasn't glamorous, and it certainly wasn't famous. But within those walls, a family was quietly building something unusual. Something that eventually transformed a simple pawn counter into a global phenomenon. At the center of this transformation was Rick Harrison, a man whose determination, relentless curiosity, and deep appreciation for history would shape the future of both his family and the pawn business as a whole. Rick's dream wasn't just to run a successful shop, it was to create a legacy. For years, he pitched the concept of a show that captured the strange, unpredictable world of pawning. Nearly every network turned him down. But Rick didn't waver. He believed that the stories behind the objects and the personalities behind the counter were enough to captivate audiences. He turned out to be right. But he never expected that one of the breakout stars of the show would be someone completely outside the Harrison bloodline. That someone was a laid-back, often underestimated employee named Austin Lee Russell, better known to millions of fans as Chumlee. To understand how the relationship between Rick and Chumlee formed, evolved, and ultimately fractured into something distant, one must go back to their lives before television fame. Well before the cameras rolled, Chumlee was simply Corey Harrison's childhood friend. Their friendship began in a rather unexpected way, a fight that quickly diffused when the boys realized they had more similarities than differences. That moment of conflict sparked a lifelong bond, drawing Chumlee closely into the Harrison orbit. By the time Chumlee joined the pawn shop full-time, he was doing everything from sorting merchandise to handling backroom tasks. At one point, he even juggled working at a Quiznos restaurant, also owned by Rick, while helping Corey at the shop. He pushed himself so hard that he once went nearly 8 months without a single day off. Though he was far from polished, he was dependable, loyal, and eager to prove himself. And when Pawn Stars launched in 2009, the world quickly noticed what Rick sometimes overlooked. Chumlee had something special. His comedic timing, light-hearted personality, and relatable flaws gave the show an emotional balance. Rick represented structure, expertise, and control. The old man represented tradition and grit. Corey embodied ambition and conflict. But Chumlee brought warmth. He was the heart of the show a large portion of the audience connected with immediately. Yet, inside the shop, the dynamic remained unchanged. Rick saw Chumlee as an employee, not as a friend, not as family, and not as someone capable of carrying major responsibilities. While fans assumed they were close because of their on-screen chemistry, their personal lives rarely overlapped. Rick had always drawn a line between business and friendship, and Chumlee, despite his fame, was not invited across that line. On screen, their interactions were playful. Off-screen, they were far more formal. The cracks in their relationship occasionally appeared on camera, especially during high-pressure negotiations. One incident involving a seller named Julie made this tension undeniable. Chumlee handled the situation professionally. He brought in an expert, confirmed the legitimacy of the rare coin she brought in, and prepared to make an informed offer. But before he could close the deal, Rick walked in and instantly took over, dismissing Chumlee's approach and reasserting control. The seller left irritated. Chumlee left humiliated. This moment wasn't about a coin. It was about trust, or the lack of it. Rick later defended his actions by joking that leaving the negotiation completely to Chumlee would have been a disaster. But the comment revealed something deeper. He never fully trusted Chumlee's judgment, no matter how much experience he gained. That same lack of trust appeared throughout the series. Chumlee made several purchasing mistakes, one costing the shop roughly $20,000, another allegedly costing more than $200,000. To Rick, these mistakes reinforced his concerns, but to Chumlee, they became reminders that no matter how hard he worked, Rick would always see him as reckless and incapable. Despite all this, something else was happening. Chumlee was becoming the fan favorite. His appeal was universal. People saw themselves in his imperfections, his love for pop culture, his occasional absent-mindedness, his eagerness to learn. He wasn't polished, he wasn't an expert, but he was real. And in the world of reality TV, authenticity is power. And with that power came money, opportunities, and a level of fame neither he nor Rick could have predicted. This shift significantly affected their off-camera relationship. While Rick appreciated Chumlee's contribution to the show's success, he rarely showed that appreciation on a personal level. Rick's world revolved around discipline, business, and the pawn shop. Chumlee's world revolved around fun, creativity, sneakers, cars, and online culture. The deeper the show's popularity grew, the more obvious it became that their lifestyles, values, and social circles. But the biggest turning point came in 2016. When police raided Chumlee's home in relation to an assault investigation, finding drugs and firearms, it exploded into a media frenzy. Though the assault allegations were dismissed, the discovery of contraband caused serious legal repercussions. Chumlee faced public scrutiny, court hearings, and the risk of losing everything he had built. During this period, Rick stepped back, publicly and privately. His primary concern was protecting the brand. The gold-silver pawn shop wasn't just a business, it was the Harrison family legacy. Rick had spent decades building its reputation, and he couldn't allow anyone, even a cast member as beloved as Chumlee, to jeopardize it. Chumlee eventually completed rehab programs, followed all court orders, and avoided further scandals. But the relationship between him and Rick never fully recovered. Rick became more guarded. Chumlee became more independent. After the legal turmoil, Chumlee began reinventing his life. He underwent gastric sleeve surgery and eventually lost around 160 pounds, a transformation that stunned fans and earned him renewed respect. The weight loss signaled something deeper: discipline, maturity, and a desire to reshape his future. Indeed, he took entrepreneurial risks too. He opened Chumlee's Candy on the Bazy Deed, a cheerful, tourist-friendly shop near the pawn store. The business became a hit, giving him a sense of personal accomplishment, separate from Pawn Stars. For once, he had something that was truly his. Not Rick's, not Corey's, but his own. Meanwhile, Rick's orbit took him in a different direction. New business ventures, special episodes, and Pawn Stars. Do America kept him busy. He traveled more, appeared publicly more often, and expanded the brand further than ever imagined. The more they succeeded individually, the more their lives drifted apart. Fans began noticing subtle changes. Chumlee appeared less frequently in certain episodes. Rick stopped referencing him in interviews. The easy banter that defined their early seasons became increasingly scripted. Both men insisted they were fine, but the distance was visible. It wasn't hostility. It wasn't anger. It was simply two lives following paths that no longer intersected. And then came another shift in the family dynamics: the passing of Richard "Old Man" Harrison in 2018. His death created a void that shook the entire pawn shop. Without the old man's stern presence, the emotional center of the show changed. Rick became the unchallenged patriarch. Corey stepped further into leadership. The family dynamic tightened, but Chumlee, not being family, naturally stood a little farther outside the circle. The old man's absence also highlighted something unspoken. He had been a stabilizing force between Rick and Chumlee. His dry wit and grounded personality kept the shop balanced. Without him, the distance between the other cast members grew more apparent. Yet, through it all, the show endured. And the unusual partnership between Rick and Chumlee endured as well. Their relationship today is best described as functional, professional, respectful, but not deeply personal. They are co-stars bound by a shared legacy, one that changed both of their lives forever. Rick Harrison remains the mastermind behind the business, the face of the franchise, the historian, the negotiator, and the man who never stops planning the next move. Chumlee remains the wild card, endearing, unpredictable, culturally iconic, and still capable of surprising everyone with unexpected insight. The distance between them isn't a failure. It's a natural outcome of fame, business, and the complicated reality of growing up under the spotlight. For Rick, the pawn shop is life. For Chumlee, the pawn shop was an opportunity, one he turned into a career, a brand, and a new identity. And though they walk different roads today, one truth remains unshakable. Neither Rick Harrison nor Chumlee would be where they are without the other. Their unlikely partnership, part friendship, part rivalry, part mentorship, helped transform a struggling Las Vegas pawn shop into an international television empire. The story of Rick and Chumlee isn't a story of a broken friendship. It's the story of how fame reshapes relationships, how business defines boundaries, and how two completely different personalities came together to create something neither could have achieved alone. Their relationship may not be what fans imagined, but the legacy they built, that will outlive them both.